Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to this week's edition of Turning Two Tunes. My name is Hannah Martin, and this is the very best country music and baseball talk show around. I'm so happy to be with you guys today. Has it felt like, I don't know, this week I feel like it's been weird. Like it seems so long, but it also seemed really short. I think the problem was there were like really long days in between. Like there were short days and then there were really long days. So like the combination made it seem like a short week, but it was just like it's logged on forever. I'm so happy to be with you guys today. Baseball, it's coming back, son. We're almost there. It's, what is it, February 11th? Oh man, we're like a month out. Like we're not, maybe like 6 weeks. I can't do math. We're so close. Spring training is right around the corner. Pitchers and catchers are reporting. Like, oh, baseball's back, y'all. It has seemed like just yesterday I was watching the Red Sox just totally just lose it in the playoffs. And here we are now, ready to put myself through the ringer again for this team. Oh, boy. Today, what are we going to talk about today? We're going to talk about the NL East today because, wait, have we already talked about the NL East? Yes, we have. Today, we have. I remember that because I was just like totally being really obnoxious to everybody in that division. Oh boy, today is AL East Day, folks. You've been waiting and waiting and waiting, and I saved the very best for last because today we're talking about the AL East. I watch most of the games that occur in the AL East because I watch or listen to every Red Sox game, watch or listen to every Yankee game, and they play, the other teams in the division 19 times a year, so I end up watching a lot of their games as well. I know these teams very well. I know what they're capable of and what they're not capable of, and I really just love tearing them all apart. So today is, it's AL East Day, baby. I'm so excited. Yes! If you want to call in today and get excited with me about baseball and the AL East, the number is 509-335-2207. We're going to jump back to some music here, but we're not going to jump back because I just came on the air. We're going to jump into some music here, but don't go anywhere because it's AL East Day. Woo! Here we go. All right. So if you just joined us, this is Turning Two Tunes, the very best country music and baseball talk show around. I'm your host, Hannah Martin, and today we're talking about the AL East. So last season, this is how the AL East stacked up. The Baltimore Orioles finished in last place with a record of 75-87. Toronto Blue Jays, 76-86. So, one game there. Tampa Bay Rays, 80-82. The New York Yankees clinched a wild card spot at 91-71. And the Boston Red Sox, for the first time in history, were the back-to-back champions of the AL East. And they had a record of 93-69. So, yeah. Good times. We're going to talk about the Baltimore Orioles first. So, the Baltimore Orioles are like this weird team because they have a lot of good, recognizable names. They have Adam Jones. They have Manny Machado, those kind of guys. And they won the division in 2014, but didn't do anything, go anywhere with that. This is a tough division, and this is always a tough division. Teams have to, you gotta compete with the Red Sox and the Yankees, obviously, not to, toot my own horn, but the Orioles' problem has always been pitching, and it has been pitching for as long as I can remember. So, I've been watching baseball for a long time. But the pitching has just been terrible. They've always just have problems with the pitching. I keep saying that, but it's true. Especially, so you look at the pitch, you look at the rotation right now, and Dylan Bundy had a really great season for the Orioles last year, but that's it. I mean, that's where it like stops and ends. They've got Kevin Gausman, who they thought was going to be great and has never come around. They used to have Chris Tillman as their ace. He's gone. They used to have Ubaldo Jimenez. He's gone. And so now you just have, you have basically Dylan Bundy and Kevin Gausman, and then you have a bunch of people I don't even know. And I watch the Orioles a lot because there's such turnover, and they keep trying to do things with the rotation, and it doesn't work. So when your rotation is bad, what do you rely on when it comes to pitching? Correct answer is your bullpen. The Orioles, to their credit, had a great bullpen last year. Really, really good bullpen. They had Darren O'Day. They had Zach Britton closing out games for them, and then they had Brad Brock, and that was like their 7, 8, 9 kind of punch. And once upon a time, they had Andrew Miller, because the Red Sox had Andrew Miller. Oh my God, I can't talk today. The Red Sox had Andrew Miller originally, and he was terrible with them. They flipped him to the Orioles for Eduardo Rodriguez, and then he went to either the Orioles flipped him or he went in free agency to the Yankees, and now he's with Cleveland. And so now they don't have him anymore, and Eduardo Rodriguez is a starting pitcher, and he's, when he's healthy, he's good for the Red Sox. And so the Orioles, lost another starting pitcher in that trade, and that was in 2014, I think, when, they were really pushing for the playoffs, and it didn't work out for them. But the really crushing blow, because the Orioles are a team built on offense, a lot of home runs, and bullpen. And that the main piece in their bullpen, Zach Britton, is done for like at least 4 months. He hurt himself. I think he tore his ACL or something. I can't remember, but it was big news. And people were literally talking about like this was the iceberg. Like Zach Britton getting hurt is the iceberg, and the Orioles are the Titanic, and this was like this is catastrophic for them because you need a great closer to get you deep into the postseason. Stuff like that. But even to compete, especially in a division where there is Craig Kimbrell with the Red Sox and Aroldis Chapman with the Yankees, if you don't have a standout closer, you just can't compete with these teams, at least in my opinion. And so now this is a big blow for them. And, it's terrible. And then you look, look at this. You look at this offense, and this is a good offense. They overspent on Chris Davis a lot. This is an unpopular opinion, I know. They spent way too much money on Mr. Davis, who plays first base for them, and they thought he was going to be, this big power hitter for them. And he's been pretty good, but not for the money, at least in my opinion. And then they have kind of their star face of the franchise is Manny Machado. He plays third base for them. The problem is Manny Machado is leaving in free agency at the end of the season if he doesn't get traded during this season. That's a problem for them because this is their number one. This is their number one RBI guy, home run guy. This is the guy. This is the face of their franchise, and he's leaving. Like he's not sticking around Baltimore, and that's a problem for them. And so this team is only going to get worse. Because they had this window, and you see this with a lot of teams. You had this window to win, and it passed, and you kind of bet you bet the house on the fact that you were going to win during this window, and you don't win, and now what do you do? Same thing is, happening with the Royals, where they, not so much with the Royals, because they actually won. That's a bad comparison, sorry. I'm trying to think. The Mets, maybe the Mets is a good comparison. They made it to the World Series, lost. But the Orioles really are like a standout of this push it, getting Andrew Miller, making this big push, their window to win, it's gone. And they made the mistake of thinking that last season when they had the chance to trade Zach Britton and Manny Machado for big returns, and kind of, start to build up the farm system again, they said, no, we still think we can make a push for the postseason, and they finished dead last in the division. Yankees are getting a lot better. I don't know what the Red Sox are doing, but they're, a pretty good team. This is a bad team, and they're only going to get worse. I shouldn't say bad. This is a okay team, but they're going to get worse, and they're going to get much worse as soon as Manny Machado leaves or is traded or whatever, because they can't get anything for Zach Britton now. They're not going to get anything for Manny Machado because their asking price is too high right now, and he's going to leave in free agency if they're not going to, move on their asking price there. Tim Beckham had like a weird fluke to the end of the season. Orioles fans are like, oh my God, Tim Beckham is going to be, new Manny Machado. No, stop. My brother actually got really mad, and he's listening. Shout out, Zach. He told me to stop saying, so thanks. Tim Beckham, he was ranked, the MLB Network did like a list of shortstops. I think we talked about this on the program at an earlier date. Did a list of the top 10 shortstops in baseball, and Didi Gregorius was not on the list. Didi Gregorius is a shortstop for the Yankees, but Tim Beckham was. And that was just insane to me and stupid. And it's wrong. MLB Network is wrong. I'm right, and that's the T. Tim Beckham is not that good. Thank you for coming to my TED Talk. Jonathan Scope, interesting. Not Manny Machado, though. Like, that's the problem here. Manny Machado is going to leave this team, and they're going to have, okay players, but nobody who is going to send this team over the top. And Chris Davis is getting old. It's not going to work for them. Adam Jones, there's also been talk that he's going to leave. I'm sure he will, because the Orioles, he's, one of those players who's been around forever, hasn't won a ring. He's going to go somewhere and go win a ring or try to win a ring. Excuse me. Sorry. Trey Mancini, who finished third in the Rookie of the Year voting, only because there was like nobody else who had a good Rookie of the Year season besides Aaron Judge, obviously, and Andrew Benintendi. So he's, interesting. The real problem here, they don't have pitchers. And their farm system doesn't have pitchers. And I mean, it's not like they just need, with the Red Sox, you want a back end of the rotation guy, like a 4 or 5 guy. The Orioles need 2, 3, 4, 5. They really do. If Dylan Bundy is going to stay healthy, and if not, they're going to need an ace 2, 3, 4, 5 guy. And the way teams are building their rotations nowadays, it's almost like you need at least 2 aces and then a number 2 guy in your 3 hole, and then back into the rotation. But nobody can be catastrophic, Like the Cubs just picked up Yu Darvish, so their rotation's going to look like they got John Lester, and then they've got Yu Darvish, they've got Kyle Hendricks. I mean, that's a stacked rotation, in my opinion. And so you have John Lester and Yu Darvish, who could both be considered aces, in my opinion. John Lester definitely, Yu Darvish is probably up for a little bit of debate, but I think he's an ace, as they're 1-2. And that's really what you need. In this day and age, you need 2 aces. Or one high caliber ace, one lower caliber ace. And the Orioles don't come anywhere near close to that. They don't have anything pitching-wise. So pitching is going to be their default. This team is going to get worse. Manny Machado is definitely leaving in free agency. Adam Jones is probably out of there. Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised to see a lot of these guys leave, and the Orioles just pull a Marlins and just start a fire sale and trying to get back something and building this team up again, because what they're doing right now is not working. And Dan Duquette, who is the GM of the Orioles, he was all over the media last year. He was like, don't worry, guys, the Orioles, we're going to be great. We're going to finish off the season strong. We can compete with the Red Sox and the Yankees. They can't. And the sooner they realize that, the better. It's already too late, because they should have realized that last season, and they should have traded off Manny Machado and Zach Britton when they had the chance and gotten something. And instead, they waited around and they have nothing. So this will be the last good-ish year for the Orioles for a long time. So Orioles fans, enjoy it, because once Manny Machado goes, that's the first domino. So keep your eyes peeled for that, folks. I want to hear your thoughts on the Orioles. Give me a call, 509-335-2207. When we come back, we're going to talk about perhaps my least favorite team in all of baseball, the Toronto Blue Jays, who are terrible, and I love talking about how terrible the Blue Jays are. I know the Mariners also love talking about how Mariners fans love talking about how terrible the Blue Jays are. That was a hard sentence. I couldn't get that out. But we're going to talk about how bad the Blue Jays are when we come back. All right, we're going to jump back into some more music here. All right, everybody. It's time to talk about, as promised, the Toronto Blue Jays, the team that everyone loves to hate. I feel like it's just like such a bonding thing because it's almost like everybody hates the Blue Jays. And it's hard for me to pin down exactly why I hate the Blue Jays so much. I think a lot of it has to do with the fans because they're all bandwagoners. I mean, I say all, but 95% of Blue Jays fans are bandwagon fans who act like, and if you're a bandwagon fan, that's fine. Just say it. Like, I'm a bandwagon fan of the Eagles this year because I was like, beat the Patriots. I don't actually like the Eagles. Like, I don't know what they've done in the past. I don't really care about them. But don't act like you've been here for 20 years, like cheering on the Blue Jays for your like whole life and you're dedicated to this team and you can tell me, you know, all this stuff about the Blue Jays. Oh, God, I just hate Blue Jays fans so much. Most of them. I'm sure there are some nice Blue Jay fans out there. Sorry if I'm insulting you, but most of them are insufferable. And that's the tea on that. So let's take a look at this team, which I hate. I just hate the Blue Jays. The pitching staff, you had Marcus Stroman, who I really don't like. He's just like obnoxious. He's like, I'm the best. Here's what really makes me mad. It's when these guys have these big egos and they think like, oh, I'm the best player out there. And, going along with that kind of thinking. And they haven't done anything in their lives. Like they haven't done I shouldn't say lives. They haven't done anything baseball related. They haven't won a ring. They haven't even been to the World Series. They make the Blue Jays made like one playoff appearance in the past like 20 years. And Marcus Stroman is out here acting like he's got 3 rings. He's an MVP. Like, settle down, please. This whole Blue Jays team just needs to realize what they have not accomplished. They think like they go out there and they take the field like they're the Yankees. Like they have this huge dynasty built up. When was the last time they won the World Series? Like the 80s? Calm down. God. Makes me mad. Anyway, Marcus Stroman is the king of doing that. They also have in the rotation Aaron Sanchez when he's healthy, Marco Estrada, J.A. Happ. Some weird names, but it works. I mean, it works usually for the Blue Jays. They had a bad year last year, but they've had, some good years. I mean, the Red Sox just totally destroyed them this year, not to toot the horn of the Red Sox, but I hate the Blue Jays if you didn't catch that. Roberto Ozuna closes out the games for him there. The bullpen isn't much to scoff at, and they've tried to, make some moves. They tried to acquire somebody from the Cardinals, some bullpen piece that I can't remember, because they're delusional and think that they're going to be able to make the playoffs. Anyway, Russell Martin, catcher, whatever, he's a veteran guy, doesn't, do much for him. The infield, they did acquire Aledmys Diaz from the Cardinals. It's not like a show-stopping move. It's a good move. I'll give him to him. Good job, Blue Jays. They've got Josh Donaldson at the corner, which makes me... Every time I think about how Josh Donaldson got to the Blue Jays, I just get mad because he was this all-star third baseman, Gold Glove, like all the accomplishments here with the Oakland Athletics when they were good a couple years back. And then he got in a fight with Billy Beane, who is the GM, and Billy Beane sent him to Toronto for a package of basically nothing. Like Kendall Graveman came from the Cubs. Brett Lawrie, that was the big piece. Brett Lawrie is not even doing anything anymore. I think he plays for the White Sox or somebody. He was never the caliber of player. Like, this was one of the worst trades in baseball history. Like, this was laughable at how bad this trade was because Billy Beane, was upset with Josh Donaldson. Whatever. People say women are too emotional and can't make big decisions. Have you met men? Please. Anyway, Josh Donaldson playing third base for him. He had a bad year last year. He was hurt. But he's really good when he's healthy. Like, this is an all-star caliber guy. There were some trade talks last season, but they're going to hold on to him. I don't think he's going to go anywhere. They've got Justin Smoke, who made the All-Star game either last year or 2 years ago. He had a good year. Troy Tulowitzki, who came over, he was like the face of the franchise for the Rockies, and then he came over a couple years ago, and he hasn't really done anything. Like, he's hit 250, so everybody was like, oh my God, Tulo in a Blue Jays uniform, but it's not. it wasn't the impact move that they thought it was going to be. And then in the outfield, they've got Curtis Granderson. That's wild. Randall Grichuk. All these names, I didn't even realize these guys played for the Blue Jays. I thought Curtis Granderson was still with the Mets and Randall Grichuk was still with the Cardinals. I think they just made those moves this season. They've got Steve Pearce, who hit, what was it? Like, he had 2 games. There were 2 games like within a week where he hit like a walk-off grand slam or something. It was crazy, but average player. Someone who is not an average player and arguably the best player on the Blue Jays is center fielder Kevin Pillar, who makes me very mad because of what a good player he is. He had, he's good at the plate, but he's really in the outfield. His defense, if you hit a ball anywhere near Kevin Pillar, he's going to catch it. He will make some diving catch, leaping over the wall or diving towards the infield. Like, it is amazing how many catches this guy makes. So yeah. I mean, it's this is the really the centerpiece of the Blue Jays are Kevin Pillar and Josh Donaldson when he's healthy, which is usually. He just had a bad year last year. And then they have Kendrys Morales as a DH, who is not the player he once was. So this is kind of a weird situation where the Blue Jays are in, because are they good enough to compete with the Red Sox and the Yankees? No, they're not. The moves they make, they tried to make some big impact moves and nothing really planned out this offseason. So they just kind of settled with these little moves, which, don't get me wrong, I like little moves. I'm a big proponent of trying to, not spend a lot of money and not go out and make these big splashy deals and try to make things work. If you look at the Red Sox, what they did in 2013 when they brought in, Johnny Gomes, Shane Victorino, Mike Napoli, like these little moves that you can piece together. Because that's what's so fun about baseball to me. It's like you can take all these puzzle pieces and move them around and fit them until, you have this puzzle that's almost complete. And then maybe, the piece that completes the puzzle is a big impact bat or something. But I like little moves. So I think the Blue Jays have done a good job with making some of these smaller moves. They're still not good enough to compete with the Red Sox and the Yankees. And that's really the problem here, because you have the Red Sox who are good, you have the Yankees who are extremely good, and the Blue Jays are not. If this was another division, maybe they might have a better chance at it. I don't think they are going to go for the wild card. I think they'll finish 3rd in the division just because of how bad the Rays are going to be this year. Oh my God, I can't wait to talk about the Rays next. And the Orioles are going to be bad too. So I think the Blue Jays are on the trend downward, and they're trying to hang on and say we're not on the trend downward because they had, similar with the Orioles. They had their window to win. They missed it. They didn't do anything with it. There was, they really depleted their farm system when they brought in Tulo and they brought in David Price as a rental that year where they were like, oh, we're going to win the World Series. And then they lost to the Rangers in the playoffs or something. They lost to somebody in the playoffs and they didn't make it. But I just had like this weird thought. I was like, did the Blue Jays win the World Series? No, they didn't. I'm not an idiot. So they're like the Orioles. They had the window to win. They didn't. They depleted the farm system. They bet the house. It didn't work out. They're trying to convince themselves. They're like where the Orioles were last year when they were like, we are, and they're better than the Orioles, but they're still like, we're gonna hang in here. We can still win. They can't. They're fooling themselves. They need to, try and work towards tomorrow, because 2018 isn't their season. Everyone knows it's the Mariners season. Thank you. And not end up where the Orioles are, where they're losing their players and they're going to be bad for a really long time because they have no farm system and they have no players. Sad but true. Anyway, I hate the Blue Jays. If you hate the Blue Jays, give me a call, 509-335-2207. I know a lot of Mariners fans hate the Blue Jays because a lot of people from Canada will come down when the Blue Jays are in town. It's terrible. I hate the Blue Jays. I just do. I will never not hate the Blue Jays. Obviously I hate the Yankees more, but Blue Jays are top contender. I hate the Rays too. God, I hate all these teams in the AL East, including the Red Sox. God, Red Sox are making me mad. But I want to hear your thoughts. 509-335-2207. We're going to jump back into some more music here. Here we go. All right. Now, it's time to talk about the team that finished in first place. First place. Oh my God. Third place. There we go. The Tampa Bay Rays. Now, when you talk about teams that are going to be bad this year, Tampa Bay is going to be one of the very worst because that song goes on forever. It's still going. They have traded off so many players, and they weren't good to begin with. I mean, this was not a good team. They were lucky because the Orioles and the Blue Jays were worse than them last year, but they're not good. Let's start off with the pitching. Let's start off with the one player who is good on this team. His name is Chris Archer. I don't like him very much, probably because of some earlier spats he's had with the Red Sox, but it is what it is. Some people, like my friend, whose name is also Hannah, like him very much, but I'm not one of them. He's really the only good player on this team. They've got Chris Archer. They used to have, so here's the thing with the Rays. They have always been known for their great young pitching. Pitching has always been a strong suit for them. It's the offense that has always been a struggle for them. They have made it, just to give you a little background on the Rays, they've made it to one World Series. They've never won a World Series, I don't think. They've made it, oh wait. No, I think they made it to the 2008 World Series and then they lost to the Phillies, I'm pretty sure. Maybe that was 2000. No, 2009 was the Yankees. I can't remember. God. This is when my memory fails me, and it's like Sunday afternoon, and I should be chilling in my dorm room, but I'm trying to remember obscure baseball facts. But the Rays have never won a World Series. I'm pretty sure on that. And they have never really been that good. Obviously, if you've never won a World Series, you've never really been that good. But the Rays, in 2013, they made it to the playoffs. They played the Red Sox in the ALDS. They lost, haven't, scraped the surface of the playoffs since then. They have Chris Archer. They have Jake Odorizzi, Blake Snell. So the thing about the Rays, where I was going with this before I got sidetracked, classic Hannah, is that they have great young pitching. Chris Archer. They had David Price, who they brought up through their system. They had who else did they have? I am literally blanking, but they had all of these great, Alex Cobb, there's one. He's with the Cubs now, I think. They have all of these great young pitchers who come up through the system, and that's still a little bit the case. I mean, the pitching is still certainly much better than what good old Matt Moore was another one. Baltimore has. It's a lot better than what Baltimore has, but it's not as good as it used to be. And that is a problem for the Rays because they rely a lot on their pitching. And when you go to the bullpen, it's really bad because they have been betting everything on Alex Colomé, who is not a lockdown closer, especially when you look at, as I said, Craig Kimbrell, Aroldis Chapman. The bullpen is bad. It's bad, folks. It's not good. And so when you look at what you're considering to be your strength is not so strong, and your weakness, oh boy, what's the weakness looking like? Considering the Rays just traded the face of their franchise in Evan Longoria to the San Francisco Giants, now it's like, oh man, what do the Rays have? I'll tell you what they have. They have Brad Miller, who couldn't cut it with the Mariners, but is actually doing pretty okay. He really does great against the Red Sox for some reason. They have Adeiny Echeverria, who came over from the Marlins. They have Matt Duffy, who came over from the Giants. If you notice, there's nobody who I'm naming who is an impact bat or who is going to really bolster this offense or who you're really going to be scared to face as an opposing pitcher. Yes, that's true. Thank you for noticing. They have Kevin Kiermaier, who is very good on the defensive side of the ball. I will give them that. They also have Steven Souza Jr., who's very good on the defensive side of the ball. They have Corey Dickerson, who never really, hit the ceiling where he was supposed to hit. And then that's it. This is bleak for the Rays. And I don't like the Rays. They play, I think one of the things that makes me the most mad about the Rays is where they play. They play in Tropicana Field, which is a dump. It is a literal dump. They have, the lighting is gross. Nobody goes to the games because A, it's a dump. B, the team is bad. So it's never full. And then they have, because it's a dome, they have catwalks all up in above near the top of the dome, except they're not that high. And so when there's a foul ball or something, a lot of the time, or even a fly ball or a home run or something, it'll go, if it's up high, it hits these catwalks, and then you have to go to these rules and find out what it counts for. And it's so annoying because it's like, this is not a part of baseball, like baseball is not, okay, well, if I hit it too high and it's going to hit the catwalk, then what am I going to, it makes me mad. Anyway, Tropicana Field is a dump. That's a T. And this team is basically a dump. And it's kind of a running joke that I have with myself. It's very funny. I'm a very funny person, if you haven't noticed. That who is going to have more fans in their stadium, the Rays or the Marlins this season? It's going to be close because they'll both have like 5 people in the stands because both have traded off their franchise players. Both are going to be terrible this season. Both are not going to do anything. The Marlins especially, because they have traded off everybody. I literally, they've traded off everybody. They have Starlin Castro, who they got from the Yankees in exchange for Stanton, but they don't have anybody. And neither, what happened to Logan Morrison? They don't have a DH on their roster. What the heck? Logan Morrison is their DH. I think this roster is incomplete. MLB Network, update your rosters. But anyway, they don't have an impact bat. The offense is going to be terrible this season. And the only bright spot on this in the pitching staff is really going to be Chris Archer, who I've heard trade rumors about. And if he goes, why even play? I mean, this is going to be a terrible season for the Rays, and it's going to be terrible for the Marlins too. Rip the Marlins, especially when the Rays are in in a competitive division with the Red Sox and the Yankees. They can't come close. They know that. Hopefully they know that. Hopefully they don't think they're going to go out and try and contend for a title, because it's not going to work for them. Sorry. I feel like I'm being harsh today, but these are really bad. Like, these are bad teams. These are not teams that are going to do anything this season. Maybe you disagree with me, though. Maybe you think the Rays and the Blue Jays and the Orioles are all going to compete for an AL East title. Give me a call, 509-335-2207. Next, we're going to talk about the Yankees. And then we're going to talk about the Red Sox. And this is where things are really going to get interesting. So don't move. We're going to play some music, and then we'll be back on. All right, here we go. All right, we are back. And now we're going to talk about the team that finished second in the AL East last season. If you're just joining us, wow, thanks for joining us. My name is Hannah Martin, and I am the host of Turning Two Tunes. This is the best country music and baseball talk show around. Today we're talking about the AL East, and we are going to talk about the New York Yankees right now. And I'm scared. I'm really scared. If this is your first time joining us and you don't know, I'm a big Red Sox fan. So to see what the Yankees have done this season and see how far they went last season makes me very nervous. And I'll tell you why. But first, let's talk about the pitching, because this is the one spot where I think the Yankees could potentially be in trouble. So the rotation right now as it stands would be Luis Severino, Masahiro Tanaka, Sonny Gray, CC Sabathia, and then a 5. And they don't really have a 5. So one of the problems is they don't have a back of the rotation guy. They've tried Luis Cessa. They've tried Jordan Montgomery. It doesn't work. They need I think the real problem here is they need like a 4, a 3, or a 4, and then they can just scoot everybody back, and CC Sabathia ends up being your 5. Yankee fans are hinging on for the rotation, and I know, because I live with 2 Yankee fans. My dad and my brother, very big Yankee fans. Yes. Yankee fans are hinging on the fact that a lot of things happen when it comes to the rotation. One, Luis Severino has as good of a year as he had last year. He had a very, very good season. Cy Young Award worthy. Yeah, sure, go for it. Masahiro Tanaka stays healthy. That has been a big problem for him and his elbow. He has come close to getting Tommy John surgery several times over the course of his career, but he's hung in there. And they've given him extra rest, but it's very hard for him to pitch on a 5-day rotation schedule. And so that worries me. CC Sabathia also stays healthy, and last year wasn't just a year of resurgence, which I think is a very strong possibility that last year, because CC Sabathia had a great year last year. So I think that he really just had, one great year, and this is not something that's going to last over the long term. Sonny Gray, don't really have any worries about Sonny Gray. He's young. He's great. Whatever. Great. Go Yankees. God. But there are lots of things that have to happen for the Yankees rotation to succeed and to work. And I do think they will have to go out. They tried to get Garrett Cole during this offseason from the Pirates, who is a 2 or a 3, and it didn't pan out. He was their ace, but I think in the Yankees rotation, he would be more of a 2 or a 3 guy. It didn't work out. Nothing came together. There were reports that they were close. There were reports that they were nowhere near close. So whatever. It didn't happen. I think the Yankees will go out and get somebody, especially because I think Garrett Cole ended up going to the Astros. So the Astros are going to be their main competition this year. And yeah, I'll say it. Yankees are going to win the AL East. Fine. Whatever. Their pitching sucks. Anyway, catchers. They have Gary Sanchez. Yes, we know. Great. Defensive problems, though. Hopefully, I'm sure they've worked on them in the offseason. You can fix defense. You can't really. There's certain things you can fix, like being able to block a ball is something that you can definitely fix. So, not worried about that. The infield, Greg Bird is coming back. He's healthy at first. Second, they're trying, because they traded Starlin Castro to when they got Stanton. So they traded Starlin to the Marlins, and they're going to try and go with Gleyber Torres and Ronald Torreyes in a second and third combination, because they don't have a third baseman anymore. They tried Chase Headley. He's gone. They tried Todd Frazier. He's gone. So now they're going to try, because both of these guys are coming up through the system, they're going to try Gleyber Torres at second and Ronald Torreyes at third, or maybe it's backwards. I don't know. But these are unproven guys. So that worries me also a little bit, because these are, they're unproven. These are rookie guys who haven't shown that they can compete with the Yankees, that they are able to swing the bat or do anything at a major league level. Shortstop Didi Gregorius, very good, had a very good year for the Yankees last season. I don't see him falling off. The outfield, the Yankees have a problem, which is good for them, in which they have a log jam in the outfield. They have options for the Yankees that are all like really good options. Aaron Judge, Aaron Hicks, Brett Gardner, Giancarlo Stanton. And then they have Jacoby Ellsbury, who's not good, and Clint Frazier, who is good, but he's younger. So basically you have 5 guys plus Jacoby Ellsbury, who's not going to get like any playing time this season. He's in a platoon role 100%. But 5 guys who could really play in 3 spots. So do I think the Yankees will try and trade Clint Frazier, or nobody's going to take Ellsbury, but maybe Brett Gardner even, and for a pitcher to shore up some of that space in the outfield? I do. I think that would be a smart move by the Yankees. Do it. Send it, as my brother would say. But obviously, the real thing we need to talk about is the offense of the Yankees, because that is what just scares the crap out of me, is this combination of Aaron Judge, Stanton, and Gary Sanchez. It makes me very nervous. And if you are a fan of a team, I don't care, AL, NL, that is not the Yankees, you too should be very nervous, because they're going to do a lot of damage, and I have a feeling they're going to break a lot of records, because Aaron Judge and Gary Sanchez by themselves were scary enough, and now the Yankees have the reigning AL MVP and the reigning NL MVP. And that worries me a lot, because Stanton had a lot of home runs last season, and Aaron Judge had a lot of home runs last season, and Gary Sanchez really didn't even scratch the surface of where he could go. Makes me nervous. I'm literally like the nervous dog the nervous dog meme. Like, that's me right now, thinking about how good this offense is going to be. So how deep, it's basically a question of how deep the Yankees can go into the postseason, because they're going to make the playoffs. It's not even a question. You have to look at the Astros, who I think are their main competition here, because the Red Sox have set themselves up to fail, and we're going to talk about that next. But the Astros are really who the Yankees have to compete with here, and I think they will be able to. But I still like the Astros slightly better, because I like the Astros pitching better, and pitching is always, to me, pitching tops hitting. And I know that's, not a popular opinion, but if you're a dominant pitcher and nobody can hit you, it's over. Like, it's game over. So that's my thoughts. Yankees are going to win the AL East. They're going to go deep into the postseason. Whatever. I want to hear your thoughts. 509-335-2207. We're going to play a couple more songs, and then when we come back, we're going to talk about the Red Sox, and I have a lot of thoughts about the Red Sox, as I'm sure you know. 509-335-2207. All right, we're back. And it's time to talk about the Boston Red Sox, who finished first in the division. But I highly doubt we'll finish first in the division again this season. I'm going to tell you why. Here we go. The pitching. I'm not really worried about the pitching. I think pitching's going to be pretty good. We had one of the best bullpens in baseball last season, somehow. Because you look at the bullpen on paper, and it really doesn't seem like it would work. But it will. Especially because Carson Smith, who was with the Mariners and then came over in a trade about like 10 years ago. And that's a hyperbole. It was like 3 years ago that this trade happened. But he's been on the DL and he had Tommy John surgery, but he's going to be healthy this season and he's supposed to be really good. So I'm excited to see what he can do. Obviously, Chris Sale, David Price, Drew Pomeranz, Rick Porcello, not worried about this rotation. I think it's going to be good. They do need an eighth inning man though. They need a setup man. And they've needed a setup man since about June of last season when they figured out that their eighth inning man was not going to be Matt Barnes because he couldn't be the setup man on the road. And then they tried to go out and get Addison Reed, and that was terrible. And Addison Reed is no longer with them. He's with the Twins. And now they're still in the same position where they were last season. They need an eighth inning setup man. Mark my word. That's the only thing I'm really worried about with the pitching. Craig Kimbrell, great. Going to close out some games. Great job. Catchers. They have the catching situation is really interesting with the Red Sox because they have Sandy Leon, Blake Swihart, and Christian Vasquez. And Christian Vasquez has also had Tommy John surgery. And he was supposed to be like this great catcher for the Red Sox, and it's never really panned out because he can't hit. Blake Swihart was also supposed to be this great catcher, but the Red Sox really didn't have room for him. And then they tried to play him in left field, and he ran into the wall and got hurt last season. Yeah. Don't ask me what the Red Sox are doing. So it'll be interesting to see. They'll work something out with catcher, whether it's this 3 catching situation. Because personally, a lot of people have a problem with teams carrying 3 catchers on their team. I don't. So send it. Send it. And then in the infield, right? We have the infield. They have Xander Bogaerts at shortstop, who had a really bad offensive season last year. And by really bad, I mean he probably hit like 260 or something. But it wasn't the Xander Bogaerts we were used to seeing. They have Rafael Devers, who has come up through the farm system, and he's playing third base for the Red Sox, and he's supposed to be very good. And I'm excited because I actually got to see him hit his first home run. Because I was at the when the Red Sox were in town when they played the Mariners this past season, he hit his first home run, and I was at that game. I remember it was a Wednesday afternoon matinee, and I told my mom. My mom was like, "Do you want to get tickets?" And I said, "Well, only if Chris Sale is pitching because it's expensive." And then Chris Sale was pitching, and it was a Wednesday afternoon game, and I was like, "It's meant to be." So we went. Rafael Devers hit his first home run. Chris Sale pitched beautifully. The Red Sox got the win. It was a great time. Anyway. And let's see, who else they got on this list? Mitch Moreland, who they locked up to a 2-year deal, first base, whatever. I have thoughts on that, but for another time. Dustin Pedroia, second base. He's going to be there literally until he dies. No one else will play second base for the Red Sox until Dustin Pedroia, because he is the type of player who just goes and goes and goes. And so he would literally have to like break both his knees and then probably still would be like, "Leave me in the game, coach. I'm fine." So Dustin Pedroia up second base. Nothing is going to change there. The outfield is where the real talent is. I mean, the excitingness happens in the outfield. You've got Andrew Benintendi, Mookie Betts, and Jackie Bradley Jr. Jackie Bradley Jr. frustrates a lot of people because he's very good defensively, and sometimes he's very good offensively. Very streaky hitter. Mookie Betts, what can I say about Mookie Betts? My son, I love him. Andrew Benintendi probably didn't have the rookie season he was hoping to have. It was still good, but it wasn't great like he had shown in the couple of games where he came up the season before last. But I still love him. Hanley Ramirez. Oh, man. I'm hoping he has a good season, but last season was not a great season for Hanley. The key to this problem, the key to the Red Sox problem is that they don't have a big bat. And they used to have one, a little-known player named David Ortiz, and then he retired. And last season was their first season without him, and they tried to do it without him, and it didn't work. And then everybody was like, hey, guys, you need to go get a bat this offseason. And they sat back, and they watched the Yankees sign Stanton, and they re-signed Mitch Moreland to a deal, but they didn't do anything else. And they're trying to make headway on a deal with JD Martinez. It's not working because there is just confusion on both sides. Well, not confusion. There is disagreement on both sides. And so it's doubtful that JD Martinez is going to be playing for the Red Sox this season. Man, I'm running out of time. I have 8 minutes left in the show. Otherwise, I just keep ranting and ranting about the Red Sox, which I probably will do next week because I can't. It's probably not a Hannah Martin show. Turning Two Tunes doesn't exist without a good Red Sox rant. At least, once per show. Usually twice. Red Sox will finish second in the division. They will be a wild card spot. From there, I don't know. They need a bat, and they need an 8th inning setup, man. If you want to be on, give me your thoughts really quickly. 509-335-2207.